And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks! Today we're taking a look at an expansion for one of my favorite guns. This is Cash and Guns 2nd Edition, and now we have an expansion that's titled More Cash and More Guns! Alright, that sounds good. Well, the original game was fun. This is actually the second edition of the original game. I liked it a lot. But there was an expansion for the original game that added like machine guns and shotguns. Well, this actually doesn't add that. It adds other stuff. This is not the expansion for the first game redone. This is a completely new one. Let me show you. So let's see what this expansion adds. First, it adds 3 new character cards. We have the Brute here. I like him because he's the Incredible Hulk. But basically, when he takes a wound, your character doesn't fall down. So, hey, you'll never go down when only one person's pointing a gun at you because you'll be fine. Now, here's what we really want to know about. This guy has the big gun. Now, this is one of the guns that comes with the original game. This is the big gun. Yeah! The big gun essentially is when you point it at someone, if they have no wounds, it does 2 wounds to them. Now, if they have 1 or 2 wounds, it still only does 1 wound, but still. Then we have the twin guns. This person gets 2 guns. Now, these are smaller than the normal guns. And if you'll notice, you pop out this hatch in one of them. You're going to point these guns at people, covering them up like this, and whichever one has the hole in it is a fake gun. The other one is the one that really goes off. The game also now has surprise cards. Each player is going to draw 2 at the beginning of the game, and they're going to keep 1, and then as the game goes by, they can play these. So here, for example, when I inflict a wound with a bang, I can also hit the person to the right of that person. This one here, give me that. When a player chooses a share of loot, you can choose to take it instead of letting them get it. After wounds have been applied, lay down a character of a player directly next to you without inflicting a wound on them, and they don't get to take part of the loot share. So there are many different cool ones in here. One that's fun is the small gun. A little small gun comes here, and you basically have 2 guns that you'll point at someone, but as soon as you do a wound with this small gun, then it's gone. So those are the surprise cards. Then we have the safe. Now the safe is included with this game, as well as 16 more loot cards. Now these loot cards are mixed together with the original deck of loot cards, and you'll have a big giant deck of loot cards. You'll shuffle that deck, and 16 cards are placed under here. So there's no extra rounds, there's just 16 cards on the safe. Now once each turn, the person who is the Godfather, who has the desk, instead of taking one of the loot cards that's face up, they can take the top 2 cards from here, keep 1, and give 1 to the person on their right. So being the Godfather is a pretty big deal because they can go into this safe. They can only do that once per turn. So that makes the Godfather more powerful. So what are these new loot cards? Well, there is the funny money here. Dollars. There's 10s and there's 20s, and there's a lot of it. Now this money is worth 0 or 20,000. Well, who picks? If you pick the Godfather on the final turn, which no one ever does in the original game because what does it matter? You're not going to get to go first next round. But here, the Godfather in the last turn will pick whether all this fake money is real or whether it's fake. There's also a diamond card in here. They're worth nothing, but it counts as 2 diamonds. There are cards that when you take them, you can look through the safe cards and take one of your choice. That's a big deal. And then there is a safe and key. These are worth 0 unless the people who have them, if both of them are alive at the end of the game, then these are worth $25,000 each. And finally, there's a painting, which counts as an extra painting. It's a fake painting, though, so you have to pay $20,000 for it to work. But if you're going to get a big set because of it, then you turn it into a painting. Now, as you can see, that's pretty much what the game adds. It doesn't add a whole lot of different things. It just adds a few small things, but a few small things are nice. Now everyone's like, ooh, the big guns and the double guns. Well, if you shuffle those cards in with the original cards, they will show up maybe 1 out of every 2 games or so. So you're not going to see them all the time. But you are going to see the new loot cards and the safe, and I will use them in every game. The safe is great because it makes taking the Godfather a big deal. Taking the Godfather was already a pretty big deal because you wanted to go first, but it wasn't as good as usually loot cards. So usually the Godfather was taken when all the good loot cards were taken. However, now people are taking the Godfather sometimes first because that means on the next turn they can take 2 cards from the safe and keep 1. Now you got to be careful because you want the person to your left to want to be the Godfather. Why not? Because they will end up giving you one of the cards in the safe, and you can help someone out tremendously if that's the case. I also like the new loot cards. I like the fake funny money because you can take that. That's a lot of 10s and 20s, but they could be worthless at the end of the game. So if you're collecting a lot of them, it's important that you get that Godfather on the final turn. All this mixed in with the regular stuff in the game, and I enjoy that. The new surprise cards are good. They're like one-time action cards. They don't complicate the game that much. Just they provide those moments of, you thought you were doing this? Boom, I'm doing this. Just one time. You don't get to use them often and throughout the game, so you have a special card and a special power. Simple, easy addition to the game. Simple, easy, stick it all in the main box. Lots of fun. If you like cash and guns, you'll like this. Dice Tower Judgment into my collection.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!
Do.